Perfect.
Is that
Yep.
better?
Great,
Yeah,
Jackie, thank you.
Switch the other one off. Thank you, committee. This is an application for the demolition of the existing building and direction of a 62-bed care home with associated parking and landscaping at 5 Winton Drive. So this is just an aerial shot showing the site, just circled in red there. The city bypass is here, Fairmile Head crossroads are here, Braes are here, and Morton Mains is here. And just another closer view of the site there. The tree belt here, Morton Mains, and into the countryside here. And just another aerial view just to give more context of the site within this red line boundary. And this is just a street view of the street, and this is Winton Drive. The gate here is the application properties access. And then this is just down at the junction with Winton Loan along there. And just a few small photos of the streets. This is the site at the moment, the detached villa, 1930s, and this is just the access coming in and the garden area. At the moment,
Convener, this is going a bit fast for me.
Sorry,
in terms of images, sorry. Maybe it's just because it's the time of day that it is, but I'm trying to take in what the images are.
It's all right.
No, it's all right.
It's
no apology necessary. No, but if you could just go back a couple, from there.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go back.
Because it's just flashing up.
Street. Yeah. I'll start here. Okay, so this is the junction with Winton Loan and Winton Drive. And this is just some smaller pictures, again, of the street scene with the boundaries and the trees coming over the top and whatever. And sorry, yes, probably too many photos on here, but this is just a on-site, the 1930s detached dwelling house with garage, with access from Winton Drive, and some grassed area, and just you can see from the rear and the house this is kind of facing onto Winton Loan, this bit, and this bit faces onto the rear of Frogston Road West houses. Currently the site is the house that I showed in the previous photos just kind of sits here, and there is currently 2 accesses. There's one from Winton Drive and one from Winton Loan, but this isn't really used, and there's trees surrounding the site here. The proposal is to demolish the house and put up a care home, and the footprint of the care home would be kind of here, so more on the east side of the house, and with the trees around there. It will be a 3-storey building with attic and basement. This is the south elevation, which would face onto Winton Loan, and this would be the east elevation here with the reception access here, and and then this one at the bottom here is the north elevation, which should basically be its rear elevation. The top elevation here is the west facing elevation, and these are just little elevations with as it sort of comes out in different bits. The floor plans are quite busy, but basically this is the ground floor, and you would come in here with the reception area here, and there's common room facilities like the little seating areas here and dining areas, and some bedrooms on the ground floor with little accesses onto patio areas there. There's also a ramp coming here which goes down into the basement. The upper floors, the first and second floor, are very similar, quite busy again, bedrooms and communal spaces. And the attic space is where the main dining room is, and it will have a little terrace that will sit within the roof plane and little seating areas, and it'll also have a cinema here for residents. The basement or low ground floor, you'd come down a ramp into the basement, and there'd be car parking here. There's also cycle parking here, electric vehicle charging points here, including one at the disabled parking bay, parking for motorcycles here, and parking for mobility scooters. And here there'll be the kitchen, laundry room, and so basically ancillary things to the proposal. This is a 3D image of the proposed development. The entrance will be taken from Winton Loan, and the new entrance will be put in here, and this entrance here will be reopened, and it's proposed to have some cycle parking spaces here near the entrance as well. And this is the proposal viewed from Winton Loan. We can see 3-storey here with the cut into the roof for the top level, and trees here and trees along there. The key considerations are the principal development, the scale, form and design, existing and potential features, the trees, character of the street and landscape setting, such as of the green belt, and the setting of the conservation area. Oh, sorry. The principle of development. Community facilities are quite an important function in communities, and the LDP aims to create sustainable communities. So a care home would contribute towards that. It would be a residential use on a plot which is currently in residential use and which has a residential house. So its use is compatible with the uses of the surrounding area. Moving on to the scale, form and design, and I'll take that together with the existing and potential features because they're all related in terms of the design. The local development plan design policies, they seek to create sustainable, a sense of place, and to draw on the positive characters of the surrounding area, and that's where the design should be appropriate. The proposed building is much larger, both in height, footprint and massing, compared to those in the surrounding area. It would dominate the street scene, particularly on the corner plot. It doesn't respect the spatial pattern of the prevailing pattern or character of the area, which is mostly 1930s villas in large garden areas. It wouldn't contribute to a sense of place because it's not near any other local facilities, so it wouldn't kind of create a little hub. The street and surrounding area are semi-rural in character. As I said before, they're mostly detached villas and large plots, so it's not a densely developed area, and there's not high buildings in the surrounding streets. The proposal would be out of character with the established pattern of development. The existing potential features in this case relate to the trees on the site. There are mature trees on the site and in the street, and these are a character of the area. Some trees have been felled on the eastern side of the site and to the north of the site. And the trees on the west of the site will be retained, as will some along the southern end of the site. And some of these trees have TPOs on them. It is intended to incorporate the trees into the design and the landscaping for the proposed development. However, there's insufficient space to plant large, dominant, long-lived species which would grow to maturity, which would be able to contribute to the character of the street and the area. The site's always near the green belt and special landscape area. And it's also near what's native open space classes other semi-natural green open space, which is the woodland opposite the application site. It is a semi-rural feeling in the street and the area, and the scale of the development would compromise this. The proximity of the building to southern boundary, taken together with the loss of trees already taken from the site, and the constraints in growing appropriate, suitable, larger trees to reinvent and replenish the features of the street would be hindered by the scale of the development and its size. In terms of sustainability, and design of that, it will be sustainable. It'll be up to new building standards, and it will have air source heat pumps and solar roof panels. So from that point of view, it would comply with TS 6. Moving on to trees, and I'm going to take that together with the character of the street and landscape setting of the being built. Policy ENV 12 aims to prevent damaging impact on trees where they have retention, and this is all trees on a site. There's a concern that the trees won't be able to grow to maturity, any of the new planting, because of the closeness to the building, and the canopies and the roots won't be able to develop properly. So they'd be compromised by the lack of space and proximity to the building, and this constraint wouldn't let them grow to maturity that could then replenish and revitalise the site in terms of trees already lost and the building being so close and some of the trees being removed in front of it looking onto Winton Lawn. So the semi-rural character of the street would be affected, and it is next to the green belt, and this was also affect its landscape setting. I concede that in terms of the reason for refusal 4, it refers to only the TPO'd trees. However, ENV 12 is quite clear in that it also relates to other trees on the site. And I apologise for this editorial error, but I would suggest, should committee be minded to go with the recommendation and refuse, that this be amended to include trees on the site and not just those TPO'd. It is acknowledged that the applicant has tried to address this, and they have tried to take account of the positioning of the trees on the site. Moving on to the setting of the conservation area, ENV 6 relates to development both within the conservation area and relating to its setting. So that would include preserving features such as trees, which contribute positively to the character of the area. The Morton Mains Conservation Area Character Appraisal states that the main approach to the conservation area is along Winton Lawn. It was originally a tree-lined avenue going into the country estate, and you do feel when you're coming down Winton Drive and into Winton Lawn that you are leaving the city and you're heading out towards country estate. The woodland to the south is still retained, that is within the boundary of the conservation area, so you would still get this sense of ruralness and semi-ruralness in the area. The trees would have flanked both sides of the street, and this is important as you turn into the boundary of the conservation area. The proposed scale of the development would be eroded. It would erode the setting of the conservation area, and it would become a dominant feature at this important entrance into the conservation area. In summary, the proposal does not comply with the development plan. The principle of development is acceptable. However, the scale and massing are not compatible with the established character and spatial pattern of the surrounding area. The proposal does not draw upon the positive qualities of the area and will have a detrimental effect on the character of the surroundings. It will have an adverse impact on the setting of the conservation area and the streetscape. The impact on the existing trees is unacceptable, and the proposed planting will be unable to revitalise the semi-rural and natural environment character of the site, street and surrounding area. There are no amenity, transport or flooding drainage issues. Overall, the proposal does not comply with the development plan. Therefore, the application is unacceptable and refusal is recommended. There are no other material considerations that outweigh this conclusion. Thank you, committee. That ends my presentation.
Thank you very much indeed, Jackie, for your very detailed presentation. Does committee have any questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Cameron.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation. Do you have a slide which shows the frontage of the proposed care home and how it relates to Winton Lawn, and what's on the other side of the proposal? What would be on the other side? Yes. What's opposite that? Have you got anything that shows what that looks onto?
Yeah, it's a woodland area opposite it. It's just here in the corner, it'd be opposite. Can show you, sorry, I'm just running through the slides again. So in here, it's wooded, and you can see it there. That's the woodland that's part of the conservation area. And then here, there's probably a better view here from the aerial of the trees running along the conservation area and the trees in the surrounding area.
Sorry, I'm asking about how it fronts onto, so where the row of houses are along Winton Lone. Could you just point out where the front of the proposed care home sits in relation to the row of houses that run along parallel to the proposed site?
Sorry, the house is along here.
No, to the north on the
The
slide.
north.
Yeah, there.
Yeah. So yeah, these are the ones that front onto Frogston Road. So you want to see the image of the elevation that would face onto those ones. Is that right?
So what does the front elevation of the proposed care home face onto? Is it the back gardens of those houses that face onto Frogston Road?
No, the front of the care home will face onto this woodland area here.
Right. Thank you.
On Winton Lone. So the care home will sit in there and face onto the woodland.
Thanks, Convener, and thanks, Jackie, for your presentation. So in refusing this application, you're talking about the established character of the area, but obviously city plan doesn't carry much weight, but there's a presumption towards brownfield development of existing plots and so on, and the established character of the area is very, very low. That if you went to the established character there, you'd re-provide what was there pretty much. I'm struggling with this a wee bit, Jackie, because in other conservation areas like Murrayfield, for example, we've allowed multi-level flatted units and so on in the grounds of listed buildings. So just a wee bit more about your perception of the established character of the area and what kind of development might be permissible would be helpful. Thank you.
My conclusion is that this is a semi-rural area and it's very, very leafy. The buildings are mostly low level, and bringing one building onto this corner plot would be very dominant within the street scene. And it would take up about a third of the plot size compared to what the other buildings in the area are. And my opinion is that is probably the main reason for my recommendation of refusal. I get that it is a very large plot, however, it is garden ground, and it's not, a lot of it's garden ground, but it's not previously had buildings on it in terms of brownfield site.
Thank you, Jackie. I wanted to ask you a question, Jackie, if I may, about sort of active travel context as a site. Obviously, being a rural site and obviously having a quite high density of individuals residing there, there'll be visitation, hopefully, because I'm sure people would like to go visit relatives. So what ability do people have to actually visit the site actively, i.e., will this site generate more in terms of car usage that actually then is presented at present?
It probably will, but the Roads Authority haven't raised any comments on that, and there are some mobility scooter parking places so people can go out and about without going into car. There's also bus stops on Foxton Road West, and it's quite, although it slopes down, it's quite a gentle slope down and into the site. And there will be just some disabled parking bays. So currently the site is vacant, so there's not any sort of trips going into it. But there would be a different type of traffic as well associated with the care home. some of the rejection comments have raised matters such as ambulances, etc.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. I'm a wee bit confused by that response, because in the report it says it's a low trip generator. Anyway, my specific question, Ms McInnes, in your remarks you made reference to what it says in the character appraisal for Morton Mains. You know, it's still possible to get a sense of leaving the city and entering a country estate. It also says in the same document, which was approved by planning, I think in 2001, so some 21 years ago, that the spatial structure reflects the practical considerations at the time and a previous social hierarchy. So I just wondered why that reference, that particular reference from a 21-year-old character appraisal document has been referred to in this report vis-a-vis the existing character in terms of the low density and the large sizes of housing and gardens and so forth. I suppose I'm referring it, in part to what Councillor Gardner asked about density and so forth. So I just wonder if you could talk to us a bit about that, please.
Yeah, the character appraisal, despite being sold, obviously we have to use that as reference. And I selected the references to the Morton House Conservation Area, Morton Mains Conservation Area, as I felt they were relevant, the most relevant part of the character appraisal in terms of this development site.
But why?
And that it emphasised the semi-rural nature of the street and the area.
So to confirm that, Jackie, was this the last time this area was actually updated in terms of conservation area?
I can't confirm for definite, but it will have been the one that is we currently use and it's publicly available, will be the most available one for us, the most up-to-date one, which is available on the website. Sorry, I can't be more specific.
Just on that point, in terms of the relevance and the updating and the character of it, I think it's a different type of conservation area here, in that it's a semi-rural conservation area. So it's a green setting. It's not like this conservation area here that we're sitting in at the moment, where there's continual change. There's been very little change within that conservation area that's taken place over the last 20 years. From when the character appraisal was done until now. There's been pressure for development on sites in and around, and they have been resisted. But I don't know whether you want me to share the aerial view to show you what the conservation area looks like as a whole, whether that would help your deliberations. If you want more information on that, I can provide that.
No, because the site we're talking about isn't in the conservation area. It's a residential site that we're talking about, and it's not on Greenbelt. So I've got another question just in relation to economic development, actually, the response on that. I don't know. Sorry,
If no other committee member has a question, Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, I was quite astonished to read the economic development comment on this. They don't see this as contributing in terms of economic development, given the amount of investment and the amount of jobs that such a proposed development would bring. I don't know if there's anyone here that can really answer that comment, but I really was surprised.
We don't have anybody from economic development in the call to be able to answer that question.
Okay, have we exhausted questions? Any need for discussion? You'd like to discuss this, Councillor Cameron?
No, I just found this report extremely confusing, and there's a lot of emphasis on, I mean, with the greatest respect to trees and conservation and so on and so forth. You know, this time last week we were talking about the need for housing. We've already said in committee this afternoon about the urgent need for housing, and I'm just surprised there's nothing in the report that talks about the need for housing, residential care housing for a start, and there's no comments around, you know, from officers or consultation around that. I'm also confused about the report, given that the references in the character appraisal is so out of date. Ideally, I would wish to see a site visit and continuation on this, because I really can't get my head round the sustainability aspects of it. We've already heard, I think it was Councillor Booth earlier on today, talking about, we've got a climate crisis, a climate emergency, and it's in the media this week that the Scottish Government are falling behind that. This is a proposal that ticks sustainability boxes and provides much needed housing. I'm really concerned, I suppose, more generally about the lack of provision for residential care home provision in the city. Liberton Hospital in my own ward, for instance, is going to be another couple of years minimum before it comes on stream with a mixed, that's a council-led scheme. So I'm just really confused at the emphasis of different aspects in this report that are not people-related, care-related and residential located. There seems to be an awful lot about trees, which are important. They're not unimportant, sorry, but we really have a care crisis and a housing crisis in this city. So that's my concern, and that's my ask, a continuation and a site visit.
Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, convener. So we're at the comments stage, and I'm just reflecting on what we've heard today. We're in for a very high density development where we lost the C-listed sheds down at World of Sport, and this isn't a conservation area, and the level of development is still only about 50% of the whole plot here, and it seems that there's a sort of injustice here that the leafy suburbs would be protected so that buildings need to reflect the existing footprints, when this is a very, very large plot with a very small building on it, and there's an opportunity for something larger. I'm not going to move against the application today because I'm not sure the design quality of it is as good as it could be, but I feel that certainly I disagree with some of the comments that we heard from the planning officers that it needs to be exactly or very similar to what the existing pattern is, because we live in a climate crisis and we live in a growing city, and we don't want to use our precious green belt, and therefore something has to give on this equation. And I was concerned about the amenity on some of the developments we heard earlier, and it just seems like maybe some of the more working class areas in the city are going to take the whole of the development, and some of these leafy suburbs are just going to be protected. Now, I have issues with that, but I'm not going to move this rejecting the officer report, because I think there's an opportunity to improve the design, and I welcome that to come forward, and then we'd obviously have to make an appraisal on that, convener. Thank you.
Anybody else in committee wish to make a comment? No? Last chance. Okay, moving swiftly on. We have a proposal then in front of us. Councillor Cameron has suggested the fact that we continue this item and go for a site visit. So, I believe we will have to go to...
Move in second.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, yeah, I was going to say we have to move on to consider that.
Yeah.
Councillor Jones.
I second Councillor Cameron's suggestion for a site visit.
I'm proposing that we don't have a site visit and we make a determination today. I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor Booth, I saw you first.
Happy to second that. Could you just clarify, convener, are you moving the officer's report? Because
I'm moving the officer's report.
I'm very happy to second you in that respect.
Thanks, convener. So I'll just go to the vote then. So of the motion moved by Councillor Osler, seconded by Councillor Booth, is to approve the, is to go with the officer's recommendations in the report to refuse planning permission. We have an amendment moved by Councillor Cameron, seconded by Councillor Jones, is to continue the application for a site visit. So Councillor Osler for the motion or amendment.
Motion, please.
Councillor Beale.
Motion, please.
Councillor Booth.
Motion, please.
Councillor Cameron.
Amendment in my name, please.
Councillor Dalgleish.
Motion, please.
Councillor Gardner.
Amendment.
Councillor Hislop,
The amendment.
Councillor Jones,
Amendment, please.
and Councillor O'Neill.
Motion, please.
So that's 5 votes for the motion, 3, 4, and 4 votes for the amendment. So the motion is passed and planning permission is refused.
We're in the Home Straight Committee. We've got one more application to go.
Convener, may I be excused? I've got a DLP duty I have to be ready for. I'm really sorry, but
Yeah, thanks, Convener. So that is on to the final item. As the last application that was called for presentation was item 4.44. This was an application for planning permission at 17 South Charlotte Street, Edinburgh. It was requested by Councillor Booth and it was recommended that the application be granted.